Hey friend, welcome to the Badass is the New Black podcast, where our motto is done is better than perfect. I'm Chrissy Chin, here on a mission to help you grow your business online, turn your leads into lifelong customers, and scale to six figures and beyond so you can work less and enjoy and earn a whole lot more. Most importantly, I'm a laid-back wife, a mom, a friend who started as a peds nurse, turned network marketer, and now a serial entrepreneur. This podcast is for ambitious people with an idea, a vision, but no idea how to get there. On this podcast, I'll give actionable steps to keep you moving forward while you learn new business strategies, better systems and processes, marketing, sales, all the things you need to build and scale a blissful business that keeps your pocketbooks growing. Grab a beverage, open up your notes app, and let's get to it. On today's episode, I have the pleasure of chatting all things conscious launch strategy with the one and the only Sage Polaris. She's written high converting copy for more than 400 clients, earning them millions of dollars. She helps personal brands and service providers sell more of their services or their offers with the words on their website. And she's worked with people like Chalene Johnson and Rick Mulready, Lane Twist. Basically, she makes money for the internet famous, y'all, the people that we look up to. And I know that she's going to share some incredible insights with us today. So I am honored, Sage, to have you on the podcast with us.
Chrissy, I appreciate you. And thank you for that beautiful intro.
You're welcome. Now, I'm really excited to talk about launch strategies. We've done a couple launches, well, more than a couple launches this year. And next year we are streamlining now to have just two incredible launches next year. So I'm excited to learn from you and kind of bring in some new strategies and talk about some of the realities that happen when you launch, like, and after you launch, like why you tend to hide out maybe a little bit regardless of the outcome. So I'm excited to dive into that, maybe get some tips for myself selfishly, but always, as usual, what I learn from you, my audience loves learning from the guests that we have on here. So thank you for being here and taking the time and just sharing all of the things.
Oh yeah. This is one of my favorite topics. I just light up like no other. So let's get into it.
Let's do it. Well, I mean, this is this topic. So where do you want to start? Where do you think is the best to start with our audience? People who have maybe never done a real launch, like maybe they've put an offer out there and mentioned it, or maybe put it on their website. But maybe they've never really even had a launch strategy before. So that might be kind of where people are at if they've tried a launch or two and maybe have had some success with it. So I'm going to let you just kind of dive in to where you think you need to start.
Yeah, I love that. So it's good to know. I think a lot of people, I like to stretch the definition of what a launch would mean to someone, because whether you're a service provider, course creator, e-com, in network marketing, any of those areas, anytime you put an offer out there, technically it is a launch, right? But we don't always think of it that way. We mostly think about course creators who are putting out an offer that they want many people to buy this one offer. But as a service provider, every month you're launching technically, because you're attracting new clients, right? So first of all, I like to stretch that definition a little bit. And to me, I like focusing specifically on conscious launch strategies. And I think what happens for a lot of people is a couple of things. First, whenever they go to make an offer, they're like, buy my stuff. And then they hide under their desk.
Yeah. So did anyone see it? If no one buys, then I can just hide under here and it's fine.
Yeah. And I get it. It's a totally natural part of learning to sell, right? Is putting yourself out there, ripping that Band-Aid off. So a lot of people are nervous in the beginning about even asking for the sale. And over time, I found as you stretch that muscle more and more, it gets to become more natural to have a sales conversation with people. And the other piece, I think, is that we get stuck in an awareness factor where it's if you don't know about launching and you start to learn methods from someone, then you start to think I'm going to try the specific strategy that works for them. because it'll work for me, because I want a business like theirs,
Sure.
right? And the tricky part about that, when you are first getting started, again, a natural thing to fall into, but what we forget to do is like tap into our own inner knowing, our own intuition, and check in and say, like, what are my strengths? What are the things that come naturally to me? And leverage those in our launch strategy rather than doing what we see someone else doing and thinking it'll automatically work for us. Because I've been in business for 10 years. I've worked on over 400 launch projects. Like, the network that I have is different than someone who's getting started. So all of those things contribute to a strategy and coming up with a conscious launch strategy that will really support your growth based on the stage in business you're at. So that's the first thing to check in about, is like, ask yourself, what are my strengths? What are the things that I'm naturally good at? And how can I leverage those to build my business where I'm at right now?
Love that. Love that. Yeah, I definitely, and I've said this before, like when we have that tendency to try and copy, like exactly what you said, like, oh, their business is thriving and it's working for them, so I'm going to try that. That's really the best time to basically figure out what's not going to work, because likely it's not going to work. And then you're like, okay, that didn't work. So yeah, just kind of avoiding that want to copy someone and just kind of turning inward and being like, okay, this seems great, but like, is this for me? Kind of thing. So I love that recommendation of leaning into your strengths. We talk about that a lot, like your superpowers, your strengths, lean into that and not focus on the things that maybe you're not so good at. So I love that tip for just kind of getting started.
Yeah, 100%. And so once you do launch, there's a tendency to want to hide either if you have a big success or if it fails, right? Either way, it's funny. You would think when you have a big success, you'd want to share that with everyone, but there's things that happen in your mind, right? Like that you're working through all the time. And so, I found like transparency with your audience, regardless of your launch results, builds community, right? So when you have that big success, sharing what you're comfortable with, like we all have to see, where we land on this. I know oversharing is a whole thing. So you have to decide what you're comfortable with. And then, or if it doesn't work out, sharing the lessons that you got from it is just as powerful for your audience to learn from. So either way, that builds community and makes people feel like they're a part of what you're creating. And so I found that, have fun with it. Like, don't take things too seriously. It's very easy to get caught up in your results, but it's normal to kind of want to like hide what's actually happening. But really, the openness is what makes people remember you. So that's another tip for people who have already launched.
Yeah. And to touch back on the failures, aspect of it, I'm big on learning from your failures. So I love that you're encouraging people to kind of share that. And again, like, goes both ways. Like, however comfortable you are with sharing, you don't have to share all of the details, but like, hey, and you don't even have to say like, I failed miserably, like I tanked, but it could just be like, hey, this is what I learned. And this is what I would do differently next time. Maybe I think could be really impactful for people. And I love that you're like, this brings in community with people, because people do like transparency. Not everything is rainbows and butterflies, right? And so not that people want to see other people fail. I certainly don't want that, but it definitely makes me feel like they're more human, right? And you're like, oh, business is not always perfect and not every launch is a success. And like, they're figuring things out. It almost like it gives me permission to like be figuring it out and like to not be perfect.
Yeah. At the tail end of my launch, I always share like the good, the bad, and the redemptive lessons. But I always like to end with like the lessons and a course of action of how I can improve things, because I know people get so much from those specific things. Like, for example, I just launched my copy template membership. We had about 3,700 people sign up, which was amazing. Awesome. And we were expecting, a lot of sales from that. And we did get a lot of sales. It was incredible. I'm so happy. We've had about 150 people come through our membership. However, this last launch, we tried something different where we said we want a 12-month commitment from everyone who joins versus a 3-month commitment is what we had previously given them a choice for. And people were not ready to commit to those 12 months, particularly this year. Like there's just so much going on with the economy in the US, other areas of the world as well. And so it was a lesson that I learned, right? And I'm like, okay, so now I know like people need that smaller commitment when they're first getting to know me because there were a lot of new people in my audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredibly impactful. And it's kind of crazy how things change from year to year. So what you might have done last year might not be working. I mean, we're doing some of the same things in one of our businesses, how we've run it for forever. It's just not working the way that it used to. And so it's like, all right, let's actually take a look at how we can serve our customers the best in this time because things have shifted and changed. And so actually coming up with those ideas on how can we serve them better kind of actually shifted how we manage the business. And it's going to be incredible for all parties involved, right? So it's like you have to be able to kind of be fluid and shift and come to the reality that what worked before might not work and you might have to tweak things. And I love that you just kind of came to that, like you tested it though, right? Like that's part of the important piece of business is testing, constantly testing, and then gathering the data to just see, did that work or did it not? And then asking yourself the intelligent questions. Why didn't it work? Okay, the economy is not where it's at. Like, okay, interesting. Now let's shift how we do that. So was there anything that you did like once you realized like, oh, that didn't work how we thought, and we came to this realization? Did you go back to the audience and then like make a tweak or an adjustment, or are you just kind of like, okay, no, we'll just wait till the next one?
We're going to wait until the next one. My team did offer to make that adjustment like during the launch, and I decided to not do it at that moment. But yes, it's interesting. Another thing I learned the last launch was to not launch during graduation season.
I feel like there's always something though. You're like, oh, maybe I learned recently not to host a retreat during the month of October because actually everyone's very busy in October, and give yourself a wide window to bring in people. So it is funny, like there's these interesting seasons and really taking a look at your audience base and like, what are they going to be participating in, right? Like if they're moms with school children, like, and that's a tough one because that's, a lot of my audience has children, and I'm in the South and we start school early August, and then the North starts school early September. So it's kind of this big window of like, okay, we can't really launch anything until like way after everyone's in school. So it is kind of interesting to take a look at that and really know and understand what's going on in people's lives too, because it has a big impact on the success that you have.
Yeah. And interestingly, it wasn't my audience that had an issue with the graduate. It was my life. I didn't have time to make any changes to the offer because I was like, I'm literally going from this thing to this thing, then getting on a plane, like all these things. It just happened to be for my life an interesting time. So and I think this goes back to like making conscious choices about your launch strategies too, though. Like often we're thinking so much about the audience, but also we have to think about our own energetics and like what's happening for us. Is really important. So, there's even little like practices that I like to do during a launch, but also throughout the rest of the year, like small things, like whenever someone comes onto my list, it gets stacked inside of this one spot in my inbox. And I love just like making a heart-to-heart connection with people. I don't always have time to do it depending on how many people are coming in at once, but I'll scroll through the names and just like sit there with my hand on my heart and be like, welcome to my community.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you for pointing out that you're like, actually, no, not my audience, me, like what I needed, because that is, and obviously like we find ourselves in this space where we're always thinking about the people on the outside, and you can't pour from an empty cup. So like filling up your cup in whatever way that you need. So I love that you realize that like, oh my gosh, this is not the time for me to do this, because it does take energy and effort, whether it's a smaller launch, like you mentioned, like maybe just a new product is coming out with your company, or something, like making sure that your schedule and your dynamic that's going on at home is providing the best situation for you so that you can bring that energy, because people can tell even online, like they can feel your energy and they can tell what you're putting into it. And so that I think is just incredibly impactful. So thank you for clarifying that you meant yourself and not necessarily always your audience. What are any other like practices that you have found to be incredibly helpful to, having successful launches or connecting with your community, maybe even after a launch?
Yeah, I mean, after a launch, having people, once they're in my community, I love to surprise them with lots of things. So we'll have guest speakers come in who will share their expertise. Like we've had, I don't know if people are familiar with Laura Belgray, she's a copywriter. She came in and taught in our community. And like Kathy Olson from Funnel Gorgeous talking about sales pages and stuff like that. So we do try to really love up on everyone. My favorite thing to do that I just sent out in the mail is we surprise them with a 90-day challenge. So once they're in, it's like no hiding. We want you to be a part of and participating in the community and earning points for it. And then I send goodies in the mail to them. So I just sent like 3 lovely packages of like self-care items.
Oh, wow.
And I was kind of in awe because our community is so global. So one of the packages went to Singapore, the other one went to the UK, and then one went to the US. So I was like, oh, it's really special, the community that we have.
That's awesome. Like literally global all the way around. I love that.
Yeah. And it's just so fun to gather all the items and send it with some intentional love.
So what kinds of things are you sending? Now I'm just curious.
I am really into spiritual growth as well as business growth. So I like to send random things like incense that are for your chakras, or a sleep mask, or I found these socks that moisturize your feet for the winter. Like,
oh my God, amazing.
All the things to take care of yourself. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. I love
it.
Okay. Anything else that you feel like the audience definitely needs to know to maybe prepare or embrace launches? Because like you mentioned, and I'm glad that you made that clarification, like it's not just one big launch that you plan. It can be these little things, or if you have an offer, you're doing, you're a coach. And so you bring in people on a more regular basis, you're kind of constantly launching. Are there any other tips that you can give someone to be able to come into these launches with ease, or if they feel like they're constantly doing them, to be able to do them with ease and grace?
I mean, there's so many things I could say, but I think my favorite thing to talk about is personalizing your launch as much as possible. So I'll give you a couple examples. As a service provider, if I know someone wants to work with me, I have a video that I send them. And if I can make them individual videos, I will. So I still do private copy services. And also, once they sign on, like I send them a personal video walking them through their intake forms. For sure, I do that one. But those little personal touches as a service provider make you stand out from the pack, for sure. Mm-hmm. And there's also there's so many tools that I give them as well, like a launch map that they're not expecting, so that they can take their entire marketing plan and see it visually laid out. Yeah. And sometimes I'll surprise them with that before they book me, so that they understand, like, I'm here to make your life easier. And then for like my launches, when I'm offering my membership, for example, if I see names that I know that have like clicked on the sales page, because you can go into your email service provider and see who has clicked on the sales page, again, sending them a personalized video. I use a tool called BombBomb, BOMB. And it gives them that personal touch that you wouldn't otherwise be able to. I haven't, because the launches have grown so much, like I've tried to figure out how can I continue to scale that personal touch. And for now, I've been doing Instagram DMs. So I'll have my team start the DM with everyone, and they're very transparent. Like, hey, this is Erin from Team Sage, or whoever's doing it. What's one thing you're going to implement from this training, this free training that you just took with Sage? And then when they respond, I am the one to come back and start to communicate with them. So it's really helpful to have somebody start the conversation. Because again, I'm trying to figure out, like, as things grow, how can I continue to make things feel really personal with me?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at this point. And, I'm always trying to come up with new ways to continue to personalize things. And I will say, like, when you have a smaller list, you have the advantage because you are able to see, like, okay, 50 people clicked on my sales page. And of that, I know 10 of those names, like people I already know. I would definitely send them videos and personalize things so that they feel really excited about being welcomed into the community. So and that's before they buy, right? Like, and even if they have bought, maybe you want to send them some love as well. Like, so these are all different ways that I'm looking at continuing to make people feel really welcomed and loved up on.
What I'm hearing from all of that and what I'm taking away is like going the extra mile, like doing the extra thing to follow through to get whatever the result is that you're looking for. And if they haven't bought yet, maybe it's the result of purchasing, or maybe it's just making that connection, or maybe if they have bought, it's deepening that connection and getting them excited about what they just invested in. So that's what I'm hearing. And that's what I love, because I do see that a lot. And I've even fallen victim to it. It's like you put all this energy and effort into it. And so then you're just kind of like, okay, I hope like the emails work and all of that works. And then you just are kind of like exhausted and you stop. But really, like what the whole thing that we've been talking about, like, doing some personal things for yourself, making sure that you're putting yourself in the right energy and the space to have the energy for this launch so that you can go the extra mile, because that will make the difference in having a successful launch and not. I truly believe that.
Yeah. And even like making buffer space for knowing that something might go wonky and you're going to have to jump in, right? Like, so preparing yourself to make space prior to the launch there's so much gold in that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Like have the emails already set up, have like the content already created so that you have this extra space for like if something goes wrong, and that doesn't have to be like something tech goes wrong and you have to fix it. Like it could be your child gets sick and you have to step away, right? Or like oh my gosh, I have a graduation and it's way too overwhelming and like there's too much, right? So I think there's so many unexpected things that you can't predict that could get in the way. And so being able to just create that space, I think is just a really awesome tip. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Is there any other little golden nuggets that you want to share with the audience before we give them your free gift?
Yeah. So in the strain, I was just thinking, like in the strain of wanting to make more space for yourself during a launch, one of the things that I do, first of all, prepare your family, like let them know it's coming.
Yes. Great tip, guys.
Yeah. But also, at this point in my business, I'm able to like book an Airbnb for the 2 weeks that I'm doing the free filming of my copy course. And that has changed everything for me, like getting out of my normal environment for one, like having space, because I know that there's things that might have to happen late at night and I'm not going to be able to take care of my kiddos as much as I usually am. So and if you can't create space for yourself yet, like booking an Airbnb is not in the budget at the moment, then even just like trying to film maybe like in your backyard. That's what I do when I'm at home, like somewhere where I feel really comfortable and I love being in that space. So switching up your environment, I think, is another key thing that I highly recommend for launches, because it does change your energy as well. And
so with the videos that you're talking about doing, like where are those going in your launch? Like, can you just elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So I do 6 sessions where I'm teaching for 2 weeks. And we release the first 3 the first week, and then the next 3 the second week.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And so these are videos that you're recording ahead of time to be able to do, or no?
They're live. They're live.
Okay.
So everybody comes to that training live. And that is essentially like I'm giving away that course for free for 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. And so now you're at the point where you are literally going to an Airbnb by yourself. Is anyone with you?
By myself.
Oh my gosh, that just sounds like a dream in itself. By yourself to just be able to pour into your business. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's awesome. And yeah, if we all start somewhere. So I'm sure that wasn't, like you said, that wasn't your first launch wasn't booking an Airbnb and going and doing that. So not to say that that is going to generate all the success in the world, right? It's all of these little pieces that Sage has been talking about. But when you can bring them all together, like it's just going to create that magical launch with ease. So love all of this. This has been amazing. We have a free gift for people, and I'm going to go get this gift as soon as we get off of here because I'm excited about it. Do you want to tell them about it?
Yeah, I would love to. So it's called the Triple Email Open Rates Templates. So if you have an email list and you have ghosted them, it happens to the best of us. You can go to sagepolaris.com/ChrissyRocks. And it's 3 emails that you can copy, paste, and personalize. You'll know exactly what to say to your list as you show back up in their inbox. If you've had a list for a while, I highly recommend using these because if you have not scrubbed your email list, like gotten rid of unengaged subscribers, anybody who hasn't opened your emails in the last 90 days, send them these 3 emails. If they still don't open, you want to remove those people because first of all, it's hurting your deliverability score if your open rates are lower. And this will raise them back up. Plus, you'll know like anybody who's hearing from you absolutely wants to hear from you.
Yes. Oh, love that. Love that. Okay, Sage, where can people find you to continue to connect with you?
I'm at sagepolaris.com, and Sage Polaris on Facebook and Instagram are my happy places to hang out.
Perfect. I love it. Y'all go connect with Sage, download that free gift or grab that free gift from her, put it into action. I always tell you guys, go take imperfect action. So she's giving you this free gift that you don't have to do much except for actually just take action on it. So go do it. Carve out a little bit of time, put it in action, and then let us know how it goes. Like connect with me, connect with Sage, and let us know what happened when you used these emails. Did people respond? Or did they unsubscribe? My guess is they didn't unsubscribe. So I love this. Connect with Sage, find her on Facebook or Instagram, wherever you're hanging out. Sage, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing all of this amazing goodness with us.
This is so special, Chrissy. I appreciate you opening up your circle, and I got to play with everyone. It was really fun.
Love it. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you got some value out of this episode, I would love some support. And the best way to do that, so I can keep showering you with loads of actionable tips, is to hit that subscribe button. Leave a review or a comment if you're on YouTube, and share this podcast with a friend. And when you share it with a friend on social, please tag me so I can reshare your share in my stories. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out. I appreciate the heck out of you for showing up. And now it's time for you to take imperfect action so you can work less and enjoy and earn a whole lot more.